I'm Julia, 30 years old, a software consultant who just bought her first home alone, not inherited, not gifted, not co-signed by anyone, just me. Years of saving, working 12-hour days, skipping vacations, watching friends move ahead while I stayed behind. All of it led here. A cozy two-story, it's just outside Portland. Front porch, big windows, a backyard with actual trees. It's not fancy, but it's mine. And you know what? I was proud. I still am. I'd spent my 20s in apartments that smelled like other people's lives. Shared walls, thin ceilings, no privacy. So when I unlocked that front door for the first time, I actually cried. I stood in the living room and sobbed like a lunatic because I had finally done it. The master suite was the deal sealer. Huge window, private bathroom walk-in closet, and my favorite part, I turned one corner of it into my dream home office. Adjustable desk, dual monitors, noise-canceling panels. It was my space, my sanctuary. But apparently, not for long, it started with a phone call from my mom. "Hey, sweetie," she said, all sunshine and forced cheer. "Just wanted to give you a heads up. Your sister and Derek will be moving in next month." Wait, what? I asked her to repeat herself, thinking maybe I'd misheard. "You know, just for a little while," she continued, "while they get back on their feet. Now, context. Chloe is my younger sister, 26. She just got married to Derek, who's fine, I guess. We're not close. Chloe's always been the golden child, the one mom coddled, praised, defended, no matter what. I was the independent one. Translation, the one who didn't need anything, so she got nothing. Anyway, I was still processing this news when mom dropped the real bomb. They'll take the master bedroom, of course. You'll move into the basement. Just for a little while." I laughed. I actually laughed. Like full-on giggled because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "You'll be fine in the basement," she said, like she was telling me to crash on a friend's couch for a night. "It's not like you need that much space." I paused, then said slowly, "Mom, I bought this house. I live here." She huffed. "Julia, Chloe just got married. They need privacy." "You don't. Wow." I was stunned, not just by the request, but by how casually she said it. Like asking someone to give up their seat on a bus, not their bedroom in the home they own. Besides, she added Derek's between jobs, and Chloe's still waiting to hear back from that loan officer. "It's just temporary." I pointed out that the basement isn't finished. No proper heat, no bathroom, and definitely no room for my work setup. "You work from home, just set up at the kitchen table, like everyone else." Like everyone else, I felt my jaw tighten. I've built my career from nothing. I don't play at working remotely, I live it. My entire job depends on my setup, my privacy, my focus. But none of that mattered to her. Because Chloe needed the master bedroom. And me, I could be shuffled to the basement like a forgotten piece of furniture. In that moment, I realized something. This wasn't just about space. It was about who was considered important and who wasn't. I said no, firmly, calmly, and Mom didn't take it well. "You're being selfish," she snapped. "You're single. You have the whole house to yourself. Your sister needs support, and this is how you act." I tried to remind her that I owned this home, that I worked for it, paid for it, sacrificed for it. She cut me off. "Your father would be disappointed." That one hit harder than I expected. My dad passed when I was 14. He was the one who taught me responsibility. How to earn what you want. How to stand up for yourself. And now she was using his memory to guilt me into giving up the one thing I'd worked hardest for. I couldn't believe it. I was standing in my own living room, realizing my family still didn't see it as mine. And that's when it hit me. They didn't just want help. They wanted control. And they expected me to hand it over with a smile. I hung up the phone and just stood there, in my living room, in my house, trying to understand how we'd gotten here. The basement. It's unfinished. No insulation, no flooring. There's literal mold creeping in one corner. The one time I walked down there barefoot, I came back up with cold toes and regrets. That's where my mom thinks I should live now. Because I'm single. She actually said that you're single. Chloe's married. She needs space and privacy. Don't be selfish. Sorry, I didn't rush into a marriage with a half-employed guy so I could get upgraded to first-class sister status. I called her back the next day, hoping maybe she'd come to her senses. Maybe she just had a weird moment. Maybe this was a stress thing. Nope. She doubled down. Said, "You've had your time, Julia. You're settled. You can sacrifice a little so your sister can start her new life." Oh, and when I reminded her again that I work from home full-time and that I literally cannot fit my desk and equipment in the basement, she said, "Just use the kitchen island. Plenty of people work from there." Are you kidding me? That setup I've spent years perfecting ergonomic chair dual screens, noise-dampening panels. That's not a luxury. It's how I do my job. But she talks about it like I'm playing Sims in a corner. She didn't care. Not about the work. Not about the mold. Not about the fact that I'd have to share a bathroom with guests or potentially Chloe and Derek. Because apparently, my comfort isn't the priority. And then she said the thing that really broke something inside me. Your father would be ashamed of how cold you're acting. My dad died when I was 14. He was the one who taught me how to mow a lawn, how to file taxes, how to be independent without turning cold. And now Mom is using his memory as a weapon to shame me into giving up my bedroom. He's not even here to defend himself. Or me. That's when I started to realize this wasn't just about helping Chloe. This was about control. And Chloe hadn't said a word to me directly. Not a call, not a text, but somehow she already assumed the master bedroom was hers. A few days later, I got a text from Derek. Just one sentence. I told Chloe we'd be fine with any room, but she says Mom promised. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mom promised. In my house, I reread that message 3 times. And honestly, I felt more confused than angry. Because if Derek's telling the truth and I think he is, then Chloe didn't even ask for the master. She just took it as a given. Because that's what our mom told her. Because that's the dynamic that's always existed in our family. Mom makes a decision. Chloe gets what she wants. And I'm expected to understand. I'm the independent one, remember? The one who doesn't need much. The one who can adjust. But I'm not a doormat. Not anymore. I worked too hard for this home. I didn't get here by chance. I sacrificed. I climbed. I built this life by myself. And now they want to rearrange it. Like I'm just a side character in someone else's story. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my office setup across the room. My safe space. My hard-earned life. And I asked myself something I'd never asked before. Is this really about Chloe needing help? Or is it about Mom needing control over me again? Because it's starting to feel like the house isn't the real issue. It's me saying no for once, and them not knowing how to handle it. And if that's true, then I need to be ready for whatever comes next. After that night, I couldn't sleep. I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind playing back years I hadn't thought about in forever. And once I started pulling that thread, the whole sweater unraveled. This wasn't new. This wasn't sudden. It had always been this way. I remembered when I was 12. I'd won a regional academic competition, big deal at the time, at least for me. I came home with a certificate beaming. And Mom. She smiled and said, "That's great, sweetie. I'm sure Chloe will have her moment someday, too." Chloe was 8. She had literally just spilled grape juice on the carpet. But somehow, her moment was more important than my actual achievement. I brushed it off. Then came high school. I got into college, first generation full ride. Move-in weekend, I waited outside my dorm for Mom. She didn't show. She called later and said, "I'm so sorry, but Chloe needed help shopping for her prom dress." I didn't want to disappoint her. I remember standing in a parking lot holding a Target bag full of twin XL sheets and just nodding. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't. Years later, I landed a promotion senior consultant. Big raise, big leap. I told mom in her response, "Oh, do you think Chloe could maybe send in her resume to your company? She's been looking for something more flexible." Not, "I'm proud of you," not, "That's amazing, Julia," just another reminder that no matter what I did, it was always going to circle back to Chloe. And I accepted it for years, smiled through it, let it go. But now she wanted my bedroom in my house. And suddenly, it all clicked. This wasn't about temporary help. It was about mom extending the same safety net she's always thrown under Chloe right into my space. I was never meant to have something that was just mine. Not really, because once I did, mom would find a way to make it about Chloe. I needed to talk to someone who wouldn't gaslight me. So I called my best friend Tamara. We've been friends since in freshman year of college. She knows everything. When I told her what was going on, she didn't hesitate. "You cannot let them move in." I started to explain. "It's just temporary." She cut me off. "Julia, if you give in once, they'll never stop. You think this ends with the bedroom, it'll be your office next. Then your fridge, your peace. You've worked too damn hard to hand this over just to keep the family peace. Let them be uncomfortable. It's not your job to rescue Chloe from the consequences of being babied her whole life." She was right. I knew she was right, but I still felt that familiar knot in my stomach. The one that whispers, "If you say no, you're the bad daughter." The selfish one. The ungrateful one. But I wasn't ungrateful. I was exhausted. Exhausted from constantly being the strong one, the flexible one, the one who always made room for someone else. What about me? Who was going to make room for me? I thought I was alone in this. Just me against mom and Chloe and this whole twisted dynamic. Until I got a message. A simple text, but it stopped me cold. "Julia, can we talk? I think something's off." Richard, my stepdad. Mom married him a few years ago. We've always been cordial, not close. He's quiet, keeps to himself, never tried to play dad. I always respected that. But why was he reaching out now? He said something felt off, and suddenly I realized maybe someone else was paying attention all this time. When I saw Richard's text, I honestly didn't know what to think. He'd never reached out to me directly before, not like that. He was mom's husband, quiet guy, handy with tools, ex-military, always fixing something around the house, always polite but distant. He never overstepped, never gave unsolicited advice, never acted like he was there to replace my dad. To be honest, I'd always appreciated that. So why now? Why this? I texted him back and said, "Sure," when he replied within seconds, "Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., that diner off Elm Street. I'll get the coffee." I barely slept that night. My brain wouldn't shut up. What was he going to say? Was this some kind of intervention? Was he sent by mom to guilt me into doing the right thing? I got to the diner early, but he was already there, sitting at a corner booth with 2 coffees on the table, one black and one with cream, just the way I like it. He stood when I walked up and nodded. Not a smile exactly, but something close. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, motioning for me to sit. "Before anything else, I want you to know I had no idea what your mom was planning." I just looked at him. "She told me we'd be helping Chloe and Derek move some stuff into your place." That was it. No mention of bedrooms. No mention of you being moved into the basement. I blinked. "Wait, what?" He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. "Look," he said, handing it to me. "These are the texts she sent while I was on a job last week." I scrolled through them. My stomach dropped. She told him that I had offered the master bedroom, that I wanted to support Chloe's new chapter, that I was just shy about it and would feel better if we all helped with the transition. I couldn't breathe for a second. "I didn't say any of this," I whispered. "I know," Richard said. "That's why I texted you. Something didn't sit right. You've never struck me as someone who plays martyr. That's when I broke." The floodgates opened. I told him everything. The basement, the office, the guilt tripping, the childhood favoritism. The way Chloe was always given center stage while I was expected to make do with whatever was left. I wasn't even sure why I was telling him all this. It just came pouring out. Richard listened. No interruptions, no judgment, just calm, steady presence. And when I finally stopped to take a breath, he leaned back in the booth and said something I'll never forget. "I've seen this before," he said. Favoritism. I was the invisible son in my family too. My stepdad had two boys of his own. They got everything time, attention, praise. I got lectures and hand-me-downs. He paused. I promised myself that if I ever became a stepfather, I'd never let that happen to one of my kids. "And I failed you, Julia. That caught me off guard." "You didn't fail me," I said quietly. "I stayed silent," he replied. "And silence is complicity." But I'm not going to be silent anymore. I just stared at him. This man I barely knew, who'd never raised his voice, never forced his way into our family. And yet, here he was seeing me, standing up for me. "Here's the deal," he said, finishing his coffee. "You decide what happens next. If you want to let them move in, fine. If you want to set conditions, I'll back you. If you want to say no completely, I'll back that too." He looked me straight in the eyes. "But I won't let your mom steamroll you. Not in your own home. Not again." I didn't realize I was holding my breath until he stopped talking. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel alone. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "Let's do this." The next day, Richard called a family meeting at my house. I'll admit, I was nervous, not about my decision. That part felt solid, but about what would happen when I said it out loud in front of everyone. Mom arrived first, let herself in with the key I'd completely forgotten she still had. She didn't even say hello, just walked in with a clipboard and a tape measure, muttering to herself about wall dimensions and baby-safe furniture. I stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, watching her map out my guest room like it was a blank canvas she'd just purchased. A few minutes later, Chloe and Derek arrived. Chloe waltzed in like she owned the place. She turned to Derek, gestured toward the upstairs hallway, and said, "Let's go check out our room." Our room. I clenched my jaw. Richard showed up right after them. Quiet, steady, exactly on time. "Let's sit down," he said, and for the first time ever, he took charge of the conversation. "We need to clear the air," he said, looking directly at Mom. "There's been some confusion. Julia has something she'd like to say." All eyes turned to me. I took a breath, steadied my voice, and said calmly but firmly, "Chloe, Derek, you're welcome to stay here, in the guest room, for 90 days. Chloe blinked. Derek looked, honestly relieved. I continued. "You'll pay $500 a month toward utilities and expenses. You can use the kitchen, living room, laundry, obviously. But the master bedroom and my office are off limits, non-negotiable." The room went silent. Then Mom exploded. "You'd make your pregnant sister live like that." The words echoed. "Pregnant." Everyone froze. I turned to Chloe. She looked horrified. "You're pregnant?" I asked. She nodded slowly, eyes wide. She hadn't told me. Hadn't told anyone from the looks of it. That's when it hit me. Mom had weaponized something Chloe hadn't even shared yet. And suddenly, I wasn't angry. I was sad. For her. For all of us. Before I could respond, Richard stood up and spoke, his voice low but sharp. "No more manipulation, Evelyn." She turned toward him, eyes full of fire, but he didn't flinch. "She's not being cruel. She's being generous. She's offering help on her terms. You should be grateful, not demanding." For a second, Mom looked like she might argue. Then Chloe burst into tears. Not dramatic crying, just overwhelmed. Embarrassed. "I didn't ask for this," she said through sobs. "I told Mom the guest room was fine. I didn't want all this." Derek stepped forward and wrapped his arm around her. "We'll take the guest room," he said. "Gladly. Thank you, Julia." And for the first time in weeks, I actually felt my shoulders relax. But Mom, she didn't say a word. She picked up her purse, walked to the door, and left. No goodbye, no apology, nothing, just silence. But as she pulled the door shut behind her, I caught a glimpse of Chloe watching her go, and something shifted in her eyes. It was like for the first time she saw it too. After Mom walked out that day, I expected the energy in the house to be weird, awkward silences, passive-aggressive tension, Chloe sulking, Derek avoiding eye contact. But, to my surprise, it was calm. Chloe and Derek moved into the guest room that weekend, and from day one they were respectful. They kept to themselves, cleaned up after meals, took turns with laundry, even offered to walk my dog when I was slammed with work. It almost felt too good to be true. A few nights in, Chloe knocked on my door while I was setting up for a late Zoom call. She stood there holding a mug of tea and said, "Can I talk to you?" I nodded, motioned for her to sit. She took a deep breath and said quietly, "I didn't realize how bad Mom's been. I just went along with her. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to." She continued, "It's like I let her think for me. I wanted things to be easy, so I stopped asking if they were fair." She paused. "I'm sorry." And I believed her, because for the first time it didn't feel like she was performing for Mom's approval or mine. She was just being honest. Meanwhile, Mom went radio silent. No calls, no texts, no Sunday check-ins. She didn't even send a group message when her favorite cousin got engaged, which was basically a federal holiday in our family. And, yeah, it hurt. Even though I knew she was punishing me for setting a boundary, some part of me still felt guilty. Still asked myself if I'd gone too far. Was I being cold? Was I pushing too hard? Was I becoming the villain in her version of the story? I talked to Tamar about it, of course. She didn't even let me finish the sentence before cutting in. "You taught them boundaries," she said. "That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. And let's be honest, you're the first one in your family who ever said no." She was right. I didn't burn a bridge. I just stopped letting people walk all over it. Richard surprisingly became a regular presence after that. He started showing up with tools, casually mentioning basement repairs like it was his weekend hobby. "Thought I'd fix that leaky pipe before winter," he'd say. "Basement could use some insulation. I'll grab some on Saturday." We ended up spending more time together than we ever had before. And one afternoon while we were cutting drywall panels, he told me something I hadn't heard before. "When your dad died, he said your mom didn't just lose her husband. She lost her compass. And she didn't know how to parent two grieving girls." He kept working like he wasn't saying something that cracked me open inside. She focused all her energy on saving Chloe because Chloe was younger, easier to protect. "And you," he looked over, "you seemed strong, so she leaned on you instead of taking care of you." I didn't know what to say, because that's exactly how it felt. Like I was never the one who needed help, just the one who provided it. Later that evening, I walked past Chloe's door on the way to the kitchen and heard her talking on the phone. She didn't know I was there. Her voice was low, but I could still hear every word. "No, Mom. You don't get to show up now and act like nothing happened," she said. "Julia didn't kick us out. She offered help and you twisted it into some power play." There was a long pause. Then she said the words I never thought that I'd hear. "If you can't respect Julia's house, don't come over." My chest tightened. Because that was new. That was different. For the first time, Chloe was standing with me, not just next to me. About 2 weeks after that phone call, I got a text from Mom. It was short. No emojis, no guilt tripping. Just, "Would you be open to having a family dinner? Just the 5 of us. I'll bring dessert." I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't know how to respond, but because it didn't sound like her. It didn't sound like a command or an announcement. It sounded like a request. I said yes, but with one condition: my house, My terms. She replied almost instantly. Understood. So we planned it for the following Sunday. I made pasta, Chloe offered to do salad, Richard brought wine, and Mom, true to her word, brought dessert. Not just any dessert, my favorite lemon meringue pie. We sat down around my dining table, and for the first 15 minutes it was weird, like smiling through your teeth weird. She complimented the paint color in the hallway, asked about my work schedule like we were coworkers catching up at a reunion. I played along, kind of, but the energy was off, like everyone was waiting for someone else to say the thing we were all circling around. Eventually, it was Chloe who broke the silence. She said, "I think we should talk." I looked at her, then at Mom, and to my surprise, Mom nodded. She set her fork down, took a deep breath, and said, "I used to think loving one meant protecting them more. But in doing that, I left you unprotected." Her voice cracked. "I thought you were the strong one. I still do, but I used that as an excuse. I leaned on you because you didn't complain, and I let that become the norm." My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say. And then Chloe jumped in. "You made Julia the responsible one because it was convenient," she said. "That's not fair. She was a kid too." Mom nodded, eyes wet. I know that now." She paused. "And I've started therapy again, with someone new, someone who's helping me unpack all of this." There was a long silence. Not tense, just heavy. The kind of silence where things are still hurting, but they're starting to heal. After dinner, I was putting dishes in the sink when Richard came over and handed me a clean glass. "You did good tonight," he said. I shrugged. It still felt fragile. He smiled. "That's what growth feels like, especially when it starts with guilt." We stood in silence for a moment before he added, "Sometimes you have to force a storm to get clear skies." I nodded. And just when I thought the night was over, Mom came over holding her purse like a shield. She looked at me and said softly, "I know I've hurt you, and I hope one day you'll forgive me. But if that day never comes, I'll keep trying. I'll earn it if I have to." Then she left. And for the first time in a long time, I believed her. About a month after the dinner, Chloe and Derek moved into their new apartment. It was small, bright, a little quirky, but it was theirs. Their names on the lease, their dishes in the sink, their keys on the hook by the door. And you know what? I was genuinely happy for them. No resentment, no lingering tension, just peace. Back at home, I finally finished renovating my office. I upgraded the lighting, reorganized my shelves, added a real soundproof door. For the first time since I bought the place, it felt complete. It wasn't just a functional workspace anymore. It was a reflection of me. Strong, focused, calm, capable. A few days later, Mom texted, but instead of saying I'm dropping by, she asked would now be a good time to stop over. I baked banana bread. She waited for my response. That might not sound like much, but for my mother, that was huge. She's been different, quieter, slower to speak, quicker to listen. When she visits now, she rings the bell. She brings her own Tupperware. She compliments things without suggesting changes. She asks before offering advice. She checks in, but she doesn't check up. And that distinction, it matters. One afternoon, Chloe came by holding a tiny gift bag and a huge grin. She handed me a sonogram photo and said, 4-month. I blinked at her. Already, she nodded teary-eyed. We wanted to wait until things felt better. And honestly, they did. For the first time, I was excited. Not out of obligation, not out of politeness, I just was. Later that weekend, Richard invited me over to his garage. He had wood scraps laid out across the workbench and 2 sets of safety goggles. "I thought we could build a spice rack," he said. I laughed. "I what?" He shrugged. Seemed like a good starter project. Turns out, I'm not terrible at woodworking. He walked me through the tools, let me make mistakes, never hovered, never corrected, unless I asked. We ended up talking more than building. About my dad, about grief, about the ways people change when they don't know how to cope. I think your mom tried to protect Chloe because she couldn't protect herself after the loss, he said. She poured all her attention into the one she thought needed it most. I nodded, and I got the leftovers. He didn't argue, but he did say, and somehow you still grew into someone solid. That's not luck, that's character. That night, I walked through my house slowly, room by room. No noise, no tension. No more wondering if I'd overreacted or gone too far. Just space and silence. And something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. When I got back to the garage to put away some tools, Richard looked over at me and said something that stopped me in my tracks. This house has your name on the deed, he said, but it's your life you built here. And in that moment, I realized he wasn't just talking about drywall and desks, he was talking about me. A few weeks later, we hosted the baby shower. Chloe didn't want anything huge, just close friends, some cousins and family. We set it up in my backyard under those big string lights I finally got around to installing. It was the first real family event I'd hosted since everything happened. And this time, the air felt different. No tension, no whispered power plays, no one rearranging furniture behind my back. Just laughter stories, way too many cupcakes and tiny onesies hanging on a clothesline for decoration. And then Mom stood up to give a toast. She tapped her glass with a spoon and cleared her throat. I just want to say thank you to everyone who came, she said, holding Chloe's hand. This baby's already surrounded by so much love. She paused, then turned to me and to my oldest daughter, Julia, my rock. You're the reason we're all here today. I froze. It hit me like a wave I didn't see coming. I didn't need those words. I hadn't been waiting for them. I'd learned how to stand without them. But hearing them, they mattered. They landed. After the party, I started tidying up in the kitchen and found an envelope tucked between two trays of leftover cookies. It was from Richard, a plain white card handwritten. It said, "Not your father." But I'm proud of you like one. I sat down at the table and just let myself feel it. Not the drama, not the anger, not even the grief. Just fullness, closure. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and the house had gone quiet, I walked upstairs. I stood in the doorway of my office for a moment, taking it all in. The shelves, the desk, the little plants that somehow survived my worst habits. The master bedroom is still mine, but that's not the win. The win is that I no longer feel like I have to earn my place in this family by sacrificing myself for it. I have space, I have respect, I have peace, and I didn't get it by yelling or folding or trying to be everything for everyone. I got it by holding my ground, by saying no, by finally choosing me. My name is on the deed, but for the first time, so is my voice, and that changes everything. If you've ever had to fight for space in your own family, I hope this story hit home. Drop a comment. Tell us your thoughts, your experiences, or even just a "hey, I've been there too." We post new drama stories every single day, and your voice helps keep this community real and strong. Hit that follow if you haven't already. You don't want to miss what's coming next.